following is an exclusive presentation of Turner Sports.
And then there was one. The world champion Chicago Bulls once again find themselves isolated in a role familiar to their opponents. But tonight it's not first but last. The last team of 29 to remain undefeated. Tonight against the Charlotte Hornets, a ninth straight victory is the Friday mission. Next on TNT. Along with Chuck Daly, this is Bob Neal from Charlotte, North Carolina. Michael Jordan's mama is in the house tonight. Look out. The Chicago Bulls, undefeated, come to face the Charlotte Hornets, a tired Hornets team. They played last night and lost, and they are 3-4 on the year, and now in come the undefeated Chicago Bulls. You know, how good are the Bulls? Well, we thought last year was a great year. Take a look at last year's numbers. The Bulls had a 7-1 mark at this point. They were scoring, allowing 95. 47% field goal percentage, plus 14. Look at this year. If anything, it's even better. As a matter of fact, right across the board. Chuck Daly, what's your take on the Chicago Bulls?
Well, frankly, Bob, I think it's almost a continuation of last year's season. Looks like there was no break. They're just too good at guys. Absolutely. Michael Jordan hangs out with Bugs Bunny, and you got Scottie and you got Toni, are really nice guys. And Rodman's got a little bit of a hard edge, and you can't dislike him. But some team is going to have to develop some dislike, and it's going to have to be a good team to try to beat this club and win the championship.
Come out with some emotion, some anger.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a player on the Charlotte team who came from the New York Knicks who've been beaten up on the Bulls physically over the years. Anthony May. Charlotte, Michael averaged 33 points and 54% shooting against this team. He likes playing in North Carolina. Wonder why. We'll be back here with a tip-off in just a moment.
Charlotte Hornets. Enjoy it, folks. We'll see you at the half.
We're at the Hive in Charlotte. 24,000 sellout crowd here tonight, and interestingly enough, when the Chicago Bulls were introduced just a moment ago, the crowd noise was almost as loud as it is now as the Charlotte Hornets are being introduced here tonight. Last year, I'm sorry to say here, for the Bulls pasting of the Charlotte Hornets, 126-96, but then 2 nights later, Charlotte went up to Chicago and beat Chicago for their first loss at home last year, 98-97. Even though the Bulls lead in this series 27-7. And one of the main reasons Chicago likes to come to North Carolina is, of course, because Michael Jordan, it's like a homecoming every time he comes here. The crowds are always a sellout. They're noisy, they're rowdy, and the Charlotte Hornets will have to overcome that tonight as you see the Hornets being introduced in the darkened arena here at the Charlotte Coliseum. 24,000 people waiting to get underway. Let's take a look at the lineup, first of all, for the Chicago Bulls. Harper and Jordan starting, of course. Pippen, Longley, and Rodman. Jordan leading by 1/10 of a point, scoring in the NBA over Akeem Olajuwon. Rodman averaging 17-plus rebounds per game. The Charlotte Hornets, you see a lot of new faces there. Divac from L.A., Mason from New York, Geiger, who came up with Rice from Miami last year, and out of the CBA, Anthony Goldwire, who's been starting at the point because Muggsy Bogues has the sore knee. Muggsy worked out, tried to go tonight. It's hurting. He can't go again. Now, we're talking about movies. Everybody knows Michael's movie is opening, and so we've got here Craig Sager, who is our Gene Siskel. Thumbs up, thumbs down, Craig Sager.
Well, one of the year's most eagerly awaited movies, Space Jam, starring Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny, with co-stars Lola Bunny and Muggsy Bogues, opens at theaters tonight. Some of it is real, part of it is animation. And whether taking a pass from Pippen or a cue from Tweety, Michael is a natural, and he and his teammates are a winning formula.
You're not scared of them, are you, Michael?
play some basketball.
Michael Jordan, and you'll notice the black road jerseys, the uniforms the Bulls were wearing when they lost their first game last year after they started the season.
Yeah, I don't know that some of the players, I think we have a graphic here, or a little bit soundbite that we're going to talk about that, but not happy. They look good in them, but I'm not sure that they're happy about it. When you're going well, I don't think players like to make changes in colors and or uniforms.
Ronnie Nunn, Greg Willard, and Leroy Richardson are our officials tonight, and we're ready to get underway. The Charlotte Hornets have lost 3 games in a row. They're a little tired. They played last night in Orlando. The Bulls had a night off, come in here to Charlotte, and are a rested basketball team, 8-0. Chicago's best start in franchise history. A post-up turnaround for Ron Harper, and the Bulls are off 2-0.
And that's what we talked about in the opening. No physical qualities. There was no one in sight. No one challenged, even at 5 feet from the basket. They must challenge shots.
Here's Anthony Mason against Dennis Rodman. Mason, the point forward, couldn't get his shot away. Glen Rice can always get his shot away. However, he's only shooting about 40% this year. He's struggling after missing the first 2 games, and on the break, the lob to Michael wasn't on target, and Michael missed the opportunity to get the crowd excited in the favor of the Chicago Bulls. This is Anthony Goldwire here, who came out of Yakima in the CBA last year and has to play the point along with Tony Smith. Matt Geiger. He's been scoring well. Geiger follows that up. He's averaging 11 points a game.
You know, that's up from his career. His career is 8.2, but he is taking more of an offensive stand. Good post up, good turn.
Jordan drains the 3. It's 5-2 Bulls.
A little change from last week. Michael took no shots in the first quarter. He's made a decision in Carolina that he's going to shoot. Plus, he had a night off, pretty well rested.
Vlade Divac came from L.A., of course, for the draft rights to Kobe Bryant. Post up with Anthony Mason. 5 on the shot clock. Mason, that's the lay-in to go. Luke Longley got there a little bit late with the help.
Yeah, they're pretty good. More than pretty good. The Bulls know when to come on the double team. Interesting enough, Jordan is really overplaying Rice, not allowing him to get touches.
Bulls with that triangle offense. Into Harper now. 8 on the shot clock. Jordan from 19. Nothing but net. His mother, Dolores, always inspires Mike.
Be so easy. Again, Rice not in a position to defend. If Collins came here, he wants to play hardball, but he wants a better defensive club, and he feels like they have to improve in every single area. They're going to be a good defensive club.
There's Rice trying to take it inside. Bulls turning it over, and Pippen on the run. They'll hold up for the shot. 7-4 Chicago. 9:39 to go. First period just underway from the Charlotte Coliseum. Pippen on the drive. Nobody to stop him either. This is a big front line, too, with Geiger and Divac and the muscular Anthony Mason.
Well, they switched on that play. Divac switched to Pippen. Pippen reads the play. He's going to take him to the basket, and then he got no help in terms of getting there for an easy layup.
9-4 Bulls. Inside Geiger with position, stripped by Pippen. What great hands for these Chicago defenders. The ball out of bounds off of Geiger. It's going to be Chicago ball. And there in the first year, Dave Cowens, I enjoyed what he told you when we asked him what he noticed about coaching.
Yeah, he had sleep patterns are not quite the same. And it'll get worse before it gets better. Trust me.
Yeah, he said he'd wake up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. The next thing he's doing, he's trying to think of a way to stop Michael Jordan. Then he's up all night. Michael misses with the left hand. Divac's on the run. Goldwire. Good shooter. Not this time. Anthony Mason with the follow.
That's one of the things they have to do is, if you're going to beat the Bulls, you must get into the open floor more, and that means getting stops or getting misses, which isn't that easy against a club like the Bulls. First of all, they take good care of the ball, they take very good shots, and they make a very, very high percentage.
Longley from Harper. 7 on the shot clock. Ron Harper. Geiger. A lot of changes. 5 new players on this team for Charlotte. It's one of the things that the Bulls are facing. A lot of teams with new players who aren't used to playing with each other. In Chicago, as Chuck said at our opening, just continuing where they left off last year and winning their world championship. The foul before the shot.
Scottie Pippen, again, regular leads the league in threes. rebounds, steals at the 3 position. This year he's 15.8 in points, 7.4 in rebounds, assists 6.8, and always a great steal artist.
The Bulls pass those assists around to lead the league in assists, as a matter of fact. Michael Jordan on the penetration. Posting up against Divac. Turn around over the 7-footer. No problem.
And he's cooking tonight. He's really feeling it. You can tell his hand finishing really high. He's a great shooter anyway, but when he's feeling it like tonight and getting 3 quick field goals, he gets more and more dangerous.
7 points for Michael. One of those field goals was a 3. 7:31 to go in the first period. 10 on the shot clock. Glen Rice trying to get something down on the block. Jordan gets the loose ball after he's kept alive by Dennis Rodman. Bad pass. Goal wire. Offensive foul. Michael Jordan stood in there. Dean Smith will like that.
Yeah, he won't like taking that charge. Let's see if he was that far under the basket. If he was under the basket, then it is not a charge. Dennis didn't want to throw the ball to Longley. Tried to throw it cross court to a guy can handle, but a bad pass.
Ooh, that's close. That's what Dave Cowens is saying to the official Greg Willard right now. He's saying Michael was too far under. You know, supposedly you're supposed to be right under the cylinder, but there's kind of an unwritten rule that if you're a couple of feet away from the basket, they'll usually not call the charge.
And did you see Dave Cowens? He kept circling his head. It means the guy has a halo. Is that what it means?
Yes, that's a good interpretation. Ball is tipped by Toni Smith, who just checked into the ball game for Charlotte, and everything falling for Michael. Now he has 9. It's 14-6. That was a 3. Give him 10. That's 2 triples for Michael already. Anthony Mason played a 4-point forward position. The Bulls on a 9-2 run. Divac. I'm guessing Cowens doesn't want his 7-footer out there taking that 3 unless he has to.
Not take the 3, but he's an outstanding outside shooter. He can really nail that shot.
I heard you were.
You know, uniform doesn't bother me, but some of the guys are superstitious to a certain extent, and I didn't know we were wearing black tonight. Well, if I did, we would certainly change it, but we just got to go out and play the game of basketball and forget about all the superstitions.
Sounds like one of the superstitious guys happens to be MJ.
He's not happy about it. He wanted to turn it around early because he has really becoming offensively minded.
You see there last year in their black only 8 and 4. Although it doesn't seem to be bothering him so far. Of the 14 points scored by Chicago, 10 have been scored by Michael. It's a 9-2 Chicago run over about 4 minutes. And they lead the Hornets by a score of 14-6. There's one of the Bulls' rare turnovers, best in the league in taking care of the ball. Toni Smith, who played 5 years at L.A., Philadelphia and Miami last year, came here as a free agent. He's been pressed into a lot of point guard duty since Muggsy Bogues has been out and Kenny Anderson left as a free agent.
There's an example. Divac trying to get to the basket. Pippen comes for the double team. Once the bad shot goes up or a shot that's awry, Rodman standing there ready to rebound.
And that's the first personal. It's 14-6 Bulls. 6 minutes, 4 seconds to go in the first period of play. Jordan working on Glen Rice. Rice has 1.5 2 inches in height. Longley's hook doesn't fall. The tip in goes in. Probably be credited to Harper.
I think it might have been Matt Geiger. Might have stuck his hand in there.
Take 2 points off that Geiger's slam a minute ago. Here's Toni Smith trying to run the show. And Divac missing from the perimeter.
The Hornets' offense is so geared to Glen Rice, and he's getting no touches because Jordan's overplaying him every time down court.
Now Mason on Jordan. Overshooting and missing. Michael has 10 of the 16 points. Back into Anthony Mason, who draws the double team. Glen Rice has an opportunity without Michael on him unless Mason takes it on in on Jordan, which he does. Kicks it out. And Toni Smith makes it 16-8 Bulls. So now Glen Rice back on Michael Jordan on this defensive set. Longley against Divac. Lottie Divac picks up his first personal. There's Dave Cowens. I said, you ask him. And Jordan, when he has the ball one-on-one, who's going to play him? He says, Rice, Curry, Mason, Tony Smith. I said, all at once?
Yeah, probably. That's about what it amounts to.
Everybody will get their turn. Scottie Pippen handling the ball. He leads the Bulls in assists. There's the undersized Mason trying to defend Longley. 3-second violation. Turnover for the Bulls. 4:30 to go first period. Bulls leading it 16-8.
Well, Longley bouncing the ball, not going to a move, and gets called. They're emphasizing that the officials are taking a longer look at steps and play in the lane. Too long holding it and bouncing the ball.
Keep going to that post-up moves over there with Glen Rice, and he can't get it to fall. Rice is 0 for 3. Bulls on the break. Pippen with a monster jam over Divac.
Yeah, on the other end, Rodman just keeps cleaning up on the backboard. They keep trying to get, they had Rice that time going to a post-up. Finally gets a catch outside, but he's getting no open shots.
Now Mason against Rodman. A long time down there in the post. Here comes the double team. That's on Rodman. It'll be 2. They get him with a block or the foul.
And Mason is a little unhappy because Rodman bodied him pretty good after the foul.
That's the first on Rodman.
Anthony Mason, as you see in the graphic, 42 minutes, led the league last year in minutes, same neighborhood.
(18-8) Chicago, 3:48 remaining in the first period.
You know, we talked about, this is pretty much the way almost every team comes out and plays against Chicago. Last week we saw it, Detroit, and Doug Collins talked about the next day. It's like two heavyweight fighters. They look at each other's eyes, and the one team backs down. Someone's going to have to get emotional and come out with a little bit more fire because Chicago is definitely going to take it to you.
Geiger cannot get the rebound. It's taken by Rodman. That's 3 rebounds for Rodman. But here's another stat on Rodman that never gets listed as a stat. It's how many balls he keeps alive that you don't give him credit for having the actual rebound. He's had 3 or 4 of those tonight. Here's Rice from the corner. 0 for 4.
But hurried again. We talked about it not only in past broadcasts, but when Jordan takes your 2 guy out, one of your best scorers, where do you get enough scoring to beat this club? That's why they have a differential of 18.4, which is phenomenal.
Longley runs it down. New shot clock for the Bulls. Ron Harper. Ball went over the backboard. And we have a timeout on the floor. 2:52 to go in the first period. Bulls handing it to Charlotte. 20-9. Bit of clinical analysis here from the coach.
Watch Michael Jordan fight Glen Rice. Rice throws him away. Now he comes out, gets his hand in the passing lane. They were unable to get him on screens, get him open and get catches. They put him on a post-up. Now Michael's going to use his forearm. They're going to be close, looking to help. Another miss for Glen Rice, and they need Glen Rice's scoring. And, of course, Rodman standing there for the rebound.
And Rice is 0 for 4 in this ball game. You see that matchup. Nobody likes the matchup, no matter who they play. The one thing that happens, as it may be with Glen Rice tonight, often the defensive challenge of having to face up against Michael takes him out of their offensive game.
Well, we'll watch Glen Rice. He's averaging 18.5 points this year, 19.7 for his career. We'll see what he does tonight.
2:46 to go in the first period. Bulls leading it by 20-9, having outscored the Hornets 15-5 over the last 7 minutes. Anthony Mason handling the ball a lot here. Scoring. He's been about the only offense that Charlotte's been able to come up with. He has 7 of their 11 points.
It is so difficult. You go down and try to set up because there's no movement. The Chicago defense is set. Makes it very, very difficult.
Good pass from Longley to Jordan for a 15-footer, and Michael has 12.
That little set play is a little diagonal screen after the pass, and he comes off of it and gets the easy basket. They get to once or twice a game on that play, and it's the simplest play, but it happens, and there's not a lot you can do about it.
In a while, I figured Del Curry would be in the game earlier. Del Curry, of course, is probably the most potent offensive player on the Charlotte Hornets team. Del hasn't made an appearance yet. Charlotte could use him, having scored only 11 points. Michael has scored 14. Gracious.
What an unselfish play by Rodman. Rodman isn't inclined to shoot, so he's always looking to pass and made for a beautiful play to a cutting Michael Jordan.
Lonnie Divac got the penetration, but kicked it out to Tony Smith for the triple. That'll help stop the bleeding a little bit. Bulls by 10.
As well as Chicago's playing, as hot as Jordan is, Charlotte's had a chance here. They've had some pretty good opportunities, just not getting very good shots.
Michael Jordan has it blocked by Rice. Minute 11 to go. Leaking out. Glen Rice gets the block and the jam. And it's an 8-point Bulls lead with a minute to go in the period. Michael looking at Glen Rice in the eyes. He walks down the floor, Chuck.
He says, I know, I got it. You leaked on me.
Charlotte on a 5-0 run as Michael misses that one, and the ball is controlled by Anthony Mason. Under a minute to go in the period.
As hot as Michael was early, he's cooled off and missed his last 5 shots.
Tony Smith is hot. That's a 2 from the corner. 24-18 Bulls. 7-0 run by Charlotte. Tony off the bench has 7 points. Look at that pass from Longley. The tip in by Harper after Pippen missed it. Divac one-on-one. Stolen. Didn't see Harper coming. We haven't even seen Toni Kukoc yet.
He's on his way.
7 seconds in the period. Michael. Fade away. Got a piece of it again. Into the period, 26-18 Chicago, as the Hornets make a mini run to make a game of it, as the Bulls had their way outscoring them 15-5 over one 4-minute period, but Charlotte closes it with a 7-2 run. Well, Michael started out on fire. He was 5 of his first 6 shots. Playing here in Charlotte, as we said, he always averages better than his season average, 33 points a game last year. But then, since he went 5 of 6, 6 of 13.
Yeah, he cooled off, and frankly, his movie is opening tonight, Space Jam, which we've heard so much about and seen so much in every paper and films and radio and TV. And he's been on every radio show and every TV show promoting it. And I sense he's a little tired, and I think he'll be mighty happy at the openings night so he can get on with the basketball business and get some rest. In fact, I know he made a trip to the West Coast for the premiere.
Yeah, he told me tonight he was tired of it all. Here's Tony Smith on the run. You see he got bumped in the head. We're going to check with Craig Sager in just a moment to see if Michael was hurt much. Steve Kerr is in the game along with Luke Longley, and Del Curry finally checked in for the Charlotte Hornets. Anthony Mason on the post up against Scottie Pippen. Getting some good position, and Mason has 9. Del Curry playing Ron Harper. Here is Kukoc. Off to his best start ever. Luke Longley, who got 16 points in the first quarter and then didn't score again when we had him against Detroit last week. We made him player of the game after that first period, and he never scored again.
And you're right about Kukoc. He is probably, no question, his best year. He's at 16.5, and his career is 13. He's feeling so much more comfortable with this team in this country. And there, of course, is Mason again. And previous to that, we saw Mason clear some room by making contact. That time he just settled for the jump shot. Remember,
Kukoc is 6'10". His defense has improved this year. Kukoc came in and everybody said, yeah, he just doesn't play defense. But he's up with it this year as Pippen misses and Divac rebounds. Kukoc has 9 steals and 7 blocks in only 8 games. And that's an improvement in his defensive game.
Yeah, it really is. I know that Phil Jackson continually badgers him about the defensive aspect of his game, which is so true in the foreign players because they spend so much time playing zone defense.
Del Curry wanted to foul called as he thought he was pushed out of bounds, but we see that Leroy Richardson says, no, you just stepped out. Craig Sager, what's the latest on Michael Jordan and his bumped head?
Well, Michael's on the bench. He's been applying ice packs to the right side of his head. He said that he took a elbow when he had the charge from Anthony Goldwire. So along with creating headaches, he's also got one himself.
Did you see that play by Scottie Pippen? He saves it on the baseline to Longley, who missed and then followed, and it's 30-20 Chicago.
And I hope we have a replay because we had 5 guys standing around and watching, particularly the guards. They don't get in the lane, and we need guard rebound.
Glen Rice looking for his first hoop, and he gets it, and it's a triple.
You know, we talked to Doug Collins about the very same thing. They had the same problem. There was a period in the third quarter last week against Detroit where they got 6 straight offensive rebounds. You cannot stand out there, the three-point line, and not get involved in the game. It's time to stand and watch. You might as well go one way or the other. If you're going to do that, you might as well release and go. Otherwise, get to the offensive board.
Ron Harper, good move on Del Curry. Still got in his face. Harper knocks it down anyway. Offensive rebound, Chicago 5, Charlotte 1 to supplement your point.
Well, in reality, that's probably the difference. You know, there's a 9-point difference, and you can add it up very easily to those 5 possessions.
9:22 to go in the half. 32-23, Chicago. Anthony Mason, who's been the offense with the fadeaway, hit 2 in a row there from that position. That went over Kukoc.
Does a really good job of creating space. He's got the strength to bump someone and get the space to get the shot off.
Anthony Mason, 5 out of 6. He only missed that one shot a moment ago. Has 11. Leads all Charlotte scorers. 3-second violation. That'll be a Chicago turnover with the Bulls leading at 32-25. Here's that Pippen move we were talking about to Longley on the baseline.
Yeah, take a look at this. Watch carefully where the defense is when this ball. There's the lob that gets tipped. He kicks it back to Longley. But look at the people standing around watching. 3 guys and 2 guys were out almost at the 3-point line. You can't play defense like that. You've got to get back in to at least the foul line.
We're talking about Tony's defense here, and he's just getting schooled by Mason. Right, played a little better that time. Come on, Tony. We're trying to do some pub for you. Pippen knocks down the 3. Scottie Pippen's 10 of 35, make him 11 of 36 from the arc early on in this season, and it's a 10-point Bulls lead again.
His percentage down a little bit, but he's always been a great 3-point shooter, particularly a clutch shooter.
We're going to keep going to Anthony Mason against Kukoc. Glen Rice, 3, 2 triples in a row for Glen Rice, and that's because Mason's drawn that defense down toward the baseline.
And more importantly, Michael Jordan is on the bench, and he's not playing.
Hey,
Rice, and Rice is happy about it. Here's the cut.
Pippen goes to the reverse but draws the foul. Yeah, you said it right. Jordan's on the bench.
There's nobody playing. Here he is working, and actually Pippen left, and when you leave him, if you leave him wide open with those kind of shots, you know, one of our premier 3-shooters, he will knock it down.
Coming into the game, Glen Rice was 7 of 19 from 3-point land. That foul was on Vlade Divac, his 2nd personal. And Matt Geiger's going to come in and get him right now. Tony Smith replaced Anthony Goldwire at the point position, came in and scored 7 quick points and has stayed out there at the point. They drafted a point guard also who's on the bench, Chuck. Tony Delk out of Kentucky, who hasn't played very much.
Well, Dave doesn't think he's truly a 1 guard. He doesn't have a great handle. He's really an offensive guard, and they're going to have to try to find time for him, maybe down the road, maybe not at all this particular year. We just saw Divac leave the game and talk to Dave Cowens again. He stated he really just showed up in the last 2 games. He hasn't gotten much out of him, needs more from him, needs to get involved in the lane, both offensively and defensively.
Vlade kind of takes life easy.
Yeah, he's got a laissez-faire attitude.
He does, in fact. He got that European California mix. Yeah. But he's not in California anymore. 37-28 Chicago, 7:37 to go in the first half. Michael Jordan's been on the bench since the quarter began. 14 points before he sat down. 5 on the shot clock. Kerr in trouble, couldn't get it over Geiger, but they stepped back on him. He missed it at the buzzer. Rebound Mason.
Well, the Hornets are getting caught on a switch every time. The big guy switching on a little guy. That time it was effective, but Kerr still got a decent shot off. Unfortunately missed it for the Bulls.
Del Curry from the corner. Not this time. Harper got a hand in his face on that shot.
And the Hornets are getting absolutely no offensive rebounds. Rodman's just simply having his own way on the defensive board.
Tried to lob it into Harper over Curry. That didn't work. Rice wanted to get 3 triples in a row, but not this time. Look at Rodman's rebound. Down to Pippen against Tony Smith, the guard. Tony, the veteran, showing some good hands. It'll be Chicago ball. Dennis already has 7 rebounds. In case you're watching, Charles Barkley. 9 to go in the quarter. Michael Jordan's been on the bench all of this quarter, as a matter of fact, after scoring quick 14 to get off to a start. Want to remind you, coming up next week, we will continue with our plethora of basketball action. Tuesday on TNT, New York at Orlando. Did you hear about Penny Hardaway? Going to have arthroscopic surgery. Going to be out 2 to 6 weeks. They're doing the surgery tomorrow. Then Wednesday on TBS, a doubleheader. New York at Charlotte back here. And Chicago will be at Phoenix. The Bulls, that'll probably be 2 streaks in a row. Bulls will probably be keeping theirs going, and Phoenix will probably be trying to get off the schneid still.
You know, and look at the stats at this point. Chicago with 19 rebounds to Charlotte's 9, and more importantly, Chicago with 7 offensive rebounds, Charlotte with 1. Not good.
What was Dave Cowens telling us about the defense? He says we're not getting the blockouts on the defensive boards. Double team on Steve Kerr, who decides to call the 20.
Pretty good defensive pressure and got him on the sideline. Anytime you get that ball stuck on the sideline, you have nowhere to go with it. Fortunately for Chicago, they had the 20.
You see, Jason Caffey is going to get a little playing time for the Chicago Bulls. He's only been in 2 games this year. Caffey had been on the injured list. He's the rookie draft choice last year out of the University of Alabama. So we'll see him come into the ball game momentarily for Chicago. The Bulls leading it by 9 with 6.5 minutes to go in the first half. And Chuck, we have to say it over and over again because it's so true. Once again, we're seeing a team like Charlotte. They come off a road game, losing last night, so they're a little tired. They come in here. The Bulls are thinking of this as a home court, which happens to them a lot because of their popularity. And there's been a lack of defensive aggressiveness again.
There's just no intensity defensively. You've got no chance. There was a case. Michael got caught on the charge. Nice step in. Unusual for him. Yeah. Unusual.
That's 1 personal on Michael. His first. 6:26 to go in the half. And there's what Phil Jackson thinks of it. Duh.
Well, he truly believes he has a halo. You know that.
Yes.
And I don't blame him.
That's a nice pass from Glen Rice to Matt Geiger. Geiger's got 4 points. Geiger's been, as we told you, averaging in double figures, has become more of an offensive presence, but so far not in this game. Bulls by 7. Kukoc just barely got rid of it. Here's Jason Caffey. A lot of muscle in the middle for Caffey. The foul and the basket for Jason. Played with McDyess at Alabama. Were they strong?
Oh, tremendous team. Caffey's an interesting player. Last year he comes and goes, gets a few minutes, can't establish any kind of a real game with this particular club. Possibly if you're playing with another club where he went to more strictly post-ups to him, he might be more of an offensive threat. Here you've got to get it on the catches within the offense.
Rodman with 9 rebounds now, and the Bulls get another offensive board. That foul, by the way, was on Anthony Mason, his first. Shot clock at 10 seconds for Chicago. Kukoc, nice pass inside. Michael on the baseline, and Charlotte had to foul him. First on Glen Rice.
Here's Kukoc into the lane, kicks it underneath. Jordan gets it semi-blocked over the shoulder, going to the line.
How about those shoes? We have to take a look at Michael's shoes. You know, they look like spats, or what do you call those things from the...
Well, spectators from another era, but they're not really spectators, but they look like suede, and they're red rather than black, which is kind of different.
I feel like we're hawking Michael's stuff. Now we're showing shoes.
Just different. Why should we be any different than anybody else in the world?
We're selling
It's not a movie. It's sneaks. It's
and how about
underwear.
This? His new movie's opening. We're plugging it to death. It's Warner Brothers, after all. It's all a big family out here in this commercial world. And he hasn't given us one lousy ticket to Space Jam.
No, you're right. But we'll see it on one of those frequent flyer trips.
Also, I haven't got my bottle of Michael Jordan cologne in the mail. Have you?
No, I have not.
Well, we don't forget about this stuff.
Yeah, that's a Bajan presentation.
Chicago leading it by 11, 5:21 remaining in the first half. Anthony Mason working on Caffey this time, and they'll call Jason Caffey for the foul. That's first team foul, by the way, with 5:17 to go in the period. Our Hornets have committed 3 team fouls. Jason's first one.
On Mason, when they get him the ball in the post, Chicago's waiting till he gets to the lane. Then they'll look for the double team.
Now Kukoc defending and stripping it away. Kukoc with great hands. That's something he's been doing more defensively, poking the ball.
He actually forced that turnover, ultimately. Here's an area, if you can pressure Kerr, although they immediately get it to Jordan in the backcourt, but you could pressure them a little bit more in the backcourt. Ooh, pretty play by Rodman. Doesn't finish it, but nice idea.
And Mason got his hand in there. Dennis touched it last, and it's Charlotte ball. The Bulls up by 11. Both teams with 7 turnovers now. Chicago only turns it over less than 14 times a game. Think of that.
Makes it very, very tough. When you're trying to score, you've got to score. Unbelievable amount of possessions.
Mason and Caffey are wrapped up, and they're going to call that foul on Mason. That's his second. Sumo wrestling down there.
Yeah, here it is. Caffey trying to keep him out of the lane. He's working into the lane, backs in, turns to the left side, gets banged pretty good on the hip.
The sumo wrestling came right after that. Here's Kukoc from 17 feet. We were talking about this last week. Toni Kukoc only struggling from way out. He's only a 3 of 17 for threes. But when he's in about 18 to 20 feet, he's deadly.
He's a great basketball player. You know, we've talked about it before. He 6-man award, one of the top players out of Europe, and really knows how to play. I love his game when he starts getting into the lane, penetrating and making plays. But he's a very, very smart player.
Caffey penetrating and losing the ball, getting it back himself. Dennis Rodman, that's 10 rebounds. Jordan, 3 for Michael.
And again,
19 already.
Rodman keeping it alive, getting him the shot.
10 rebounds for Rodman, 19 points for Jordan, and that's all you need to know about why it's 46 to 32 with 3:34 to go in the half. Second chance points, look at this, 13 to 2 Chicago. What you been talking about?
Yeah, that's the answer in the game, but that's a special individual, but you've got to try to do something about him. You've got to face guard him. We asked Dave Collins, I don't think he was quite sure how he wanted to play him. After he has finished this game and play him, you've got to figure out another way to play him. You've got to assign a guy to face guard him and keep him off the offensive board. Otherwise, he will literally destroy you.
You were famous for your mysterious Jordan rules with the Pistons.
Yeah, a lot of people think we didn't really have them. We let people think anything we wanted, but there was a time.
You're still not giving it up.
No, there was a time. We very definitely had Jordan rules, and it was before Scottie Pippen came into the picture as to the kind of player he is now, and some other players developed. But they were effective. They were based on where Jordan had the ball on the floor as to how we were going to play him, where the double team was coming from.
Well, it kept Chicago out of the finals and took the Pistons to 2 world championships. There's the second chance points we were talking about. 46-32. Bulls' biggest lead of this game so far. Mason getting it in before Rodman can get to it. And Scott Burrell is in the ball game. Scott Burrell has been injury plagued. I think that's the best way to define his game. Excellent player, athlete, pro baseball player when he was drafted, but he's been hurt a lot. He wears 24, is defending Michael right now. 21 for Jordan.
Yeah, talking about Scott Burrell, he's missed 110 games over 3 years, and he's had shoulder surgery, Achilles tendon surgery, and he's very tentative. He's very down on himself. He's going to have to get over the injury problem before he gets mentally ready to play basketball, and Dave's going to have to help with that.
The Chicago Bulls lead it 48-34. Timeout on the floor. Tiny skyline of the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina. For the Chicago Bulls are having their way with the Hornets. 48-34, 2:44 to go in the first half of play. Hope you're enjoying our ball game tonight. How about Michael? 16 minutes.
21 points, better than a point a minute.
We were saying, Chuck said, I bet he's scoring a point a minute. Let's double check. Yeah, that's a point a minute.
He's celebrating the opening of a new movie he wants to coincide with about a 40 or 50 point game. And I don't know that they'll need that. If Charlotte can make a run and get back in the game, you may see a big night from Mike.
Probably in his movie contract. Del Curry misses. Rebound, Scottie Pippen. 14-point Bulls lead, 2:30 to go in the first half. Look at the rebounding. That's more than anything else. That's been the story of the first half.
That is the answer.
Rodman has 10. Jason Caffey getting extended playing time here. Rodman in the middle, sets the screen for Kukoc, who hits a three. That's only 4 of 18 from beyond the arc for Kukoc on the season.
In support of Caffey, though, they've got Jordan, Pippen, and Kukoc on the bench along with Rodman, so they can afford to play a guy who hasn't gotten a lot of minutes. Phil will do that quite often to get his guys some time.
There's a good example of tentative play from Scott Burrell. Got in the lane, had the open shot, had to double think, double clutch, and missed the basket. 51-34, Chicago. Open lane for Jordan.
And Scottie Burrell was on the baseline, on the box, waiting, and never looked and never came, so Jordan had his own way.
It's a different Scottie Burrell. I have seen Scottie Burrell play some tough physical defense for this club last year. 2 years ago, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say 2 years ago, he was definitely a factor. He was a slashing player, very athletic. He's tentative about his body right now. Seems to be afraid of getting hurt again, which you can understand with the amount of injuries that he's had. But he's got to get back to some semblance of the previous Scottie Burrell, or they've got to find minutes for someone else on the roster.
This ain't Pamplona, but it could be. 16-4, the Bulls in the last 4 minutes, 30 seconds. And it's a 19-point lead for Chicago with around a minute left in the period. Michael, bodies flying everywhere. Michael misses. Kept alive by Rodman again. Collected by Caffey. And Dennis gets his 2. They like to get Dennis about 3 hoops a game for about 6 points. That's his average.
He doesn't want any more than 3 shots. He's really shots.
He doesn't even care about that.
It's one of the great things when you're coaching in this league. When you've got a player who doesn't want to shoot or score, you've got a real asset.
Tony Smith with the nice to Matt Geiger for the lay-in. Bulls by 19. 38 seconds to go in the half. Pippen made what I thought was an easy pass to Caffey, who didn't see it coming out of bounds. Charlotte ball coming up. Nike halftime report. Ernie Johnson, Reggie Theus will be in our Atlanta studios. Scores, highlights from the action, and we'll have an update. Boy, that was a weak effort from Matt Geiger. An update on Penny Hardaway's condition. You know, Penny is going to have arthroscopic surgery tomorrow. A great guard at Orlando for his left knee for cartilage problem, and is expected to be out 2 to 6 weeks. And also at halftime, a report on our man Danny Ainge taking over. What was that? That be careful what you ask for. You're liable to get it. Okay, Danny.
Do you remember the first night when we saw him before the game and I said, you will learn more about basketball and get more lessons this year than you ever believed in? 8 games in, he is already a head coach. Good luck.
Fade away from Michael. It almost went in. Curry comes away with a loose ball. 2 seconds in the half. Curry, does he know it? Yes. That's been the story for Del Curry and the offensive perimeter game of Charlotte in the first half. Curry and Rice have been missing from out there. The Bulls have been hitting from everywhere and lead it by 19 as Michael Jordan closes out the half with 23 points in only 19 minutes of playing time. Nike halftime report coming up right after this. Back to the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, looking at the Hive, the Charlotte Coliseum. The Chicago Bulls led after the first quarter by 8 points. They lead at halftime by 19 points behind Michael Jordan's sweet 23. Michael came out and had 10 of the first 14 points that were scored in this ball game. But once again, the silent assassin, I like to call them, going on what you said at the open, the Bulls are like smiling assassins. Pat everybody on the rump and on the head and say great games and then cut their hearts out. And Dennis Rodman is the man who does so many things, not just statistically, but all over the court, Chuck.
There he is, agile, going for rebound. They're moving for the rebound. Here, tipping it away from the basket, running it down. Now he's scoring. He doesn't only rebound. He's got 11, but he scores to boot. That really hurts
You called him red tonight. He's in his color of red shade. He had a comment for you, of course, after that we can't pass along. 11 rebounds, 4 points, and even probably more important is Charlotte only shooting 42% at the half. Rice 3 of 8. Curry only 1 of 5. This is a team that's only been to the free throw line, Charlotte, 2 times and hit 1 in the first half of play. But before we go any further, we've had a rare opportunity here at Turner Sports because of our very close association with the NBA, with Phil Jackson, with Michael Jordan, to get a camera in the Bulls locker room to listen to Michael Jordan firing his team up at halftime, even though they're leading by 19 points.
And listen carefully.
Listen, I didn't get dragged down here just to get my butt whipped by a bunch of ugly monsters. I ain't going out like that. We're letting them push us around. We gotta fight them back. We gotta take it to them. We gotta get right in their faces. And what do you say? Are you with me or not?
Finished? Great speech and all, Doc. You had him riveted.
Does that remind you of any of your halftimes?
Most of them, they slept right through.
And still won championships. Maybe that's the secret. The Pistons slept through Chuck's halftimes. The Bulls sleep through Michael's. And we appreciate them letting the camera in the locker room there. And I don't know who all those other players were. Isn't it funny how the Bulls, when you get them in there in the locker room and get that close-up real-life shot, they don't look like basketball players.
Yeah, they're not as dangerous looking as they are when they come out here on the Charlotte Hornets floor.
We call them the Smiling Assassins. Hi, it's great to see you guys. We saw Michael say to Glen Rice in the first quarter after Glen blocked his shot and then leaked out for a basket. Comes back up the court. Michael says, nice block, nice leak out.
You got me that time, but then he comes down and hits like 3 jumpers.
And I guess the worry about the black road uniforms, these are the uniforms the Bulls wore last year when they lost their first game of the year. And Michael was a little concerned that they were wearing them here tonight, didn't want to wear them because he had the streak going with 8 wins in a row. But I think they're going to be able to overcome that unless Charlotte really comes alive. And I don't know how they're going to do it unless they get Vlade Divac more involved in the offense, unless Curry can score better, and unless Glen Rice can score better. Right now, a 19-point Bulls lead, opening moments, third quarter. Geiger. That's his own rebound.
You know, they did something interesting. They came out and they really opened up the floor. They went to a 1-2-2, which is an old set to try to open up the floor. They ended up finally getting a little bit of a decent shot, but at some point, the wrong guy takes the wrong shot in the wrong place for them.
Look at Dennis Rodman. Battle Geiger, caused Geiger to hold him.
You know, I noticed that Dennis this year, we've only had a couple games. I've seen him play 3 or 4 times other than this. But he's not quite as demonstrative as this year. He's much more settled, kind of doing his job very quietly.
Inside to Longley. They're calling traveling. Wave off the basket. You know, I wonder if it's because you're here. You know, when you see him, he's quieter.
No, I've seen him a number of times this year. And, well, he's got the contract. He's got the movie. He's got the money, you know, so, and everything is going well.
And he's rebounding at 17 a game, and he's on pace for 22 tonight, had 11 at the half. Bulls lead by 19, and minutes been played. And Mason will go to the free throw line. This was a stat that jumped out at me at the half, is that Charlotte only took 2 free throws. They were both taken by Mason in the entire first half. What does that say to you?
Well, they've never been a team that goes to the basket. When Bristow had them into the passing game, they did a little bit more of it. But now they have a lot of jump shooters. They've got Curry, they've got Rice. So they settle for shots a lot, as a lot of teams do in the league. And when that happens, you're not going to get to the free throw line. Or you've got to do it by getting on the offensive board and the defensive board and picking up some possible free throws.
And Anthony Mason, who is their post-up guy, Geiger misses it, but Vlade Divac follows, and he draws the foul. I was going to say that Anthony Mason is their post-up guy, and he doesn't get fouled that much, probably because of his lack of size. Craig Sager.
I talked to Dave Collins at halftime. Defense and rebounding were 2 characteristics of his as a player, but he said it's very frustrating. He cannot get that message across to his team. He said if this was pro wrestling, he'd take off his coat and hop into the ring, because 2 years ago as an assistant in San Antonio, he used to battle Rodman every day in practice. And he said at least he would try to box out.
He's a player coach. When was it? 77, 78, something like that with Boston. Came in mid-season.
Ultimately left the game for a couple of years, came back to coach in the CBA.
Bulls have 13 on the shot clock, with Glen Rice trying to play Michael.
No contesto.
25 points for Jordan. 57-38 Bulls by 19. Charlotte looking for some way to score. And that ain't the way. Charlotte had only 36 at the half. It didn't take long to figure out they're on pace to score only 72 tonight. They only scored 2 here in the first 2 minutes. Michael drives the baseline. He's fouled by Vlade Divac, by Mason, which will be his 3rd. Check that, Anthony Mason, his 3rd personal foul.
It's kind of interesting to watch the Bulls. They come down and they're so much under control, and they're so assured as to what they're trying to do. Here's the cut. Here's the pick and roll.
Somebody will be open. Rodman this time. They go back into the triangle now.
Pretty good option.
We always say that, you know, no matter what they run, when it gets down to it, finally.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what, you know, they talk about the triangle offense. People try to duplicate it, but you better get somebody like that at the end of it when you're in trouble, and bang.
Glen Rice hits his 2. Michael Jordan, by the way, 27 in the game. He's hit his last 5. And it's 19-point lead, 59-49-34 remaining in the 3rd quarter from the Hive in Charlotte. Jordan, 3. Oh my.
And he's doing it so easily. There's no strain, no pain, and really no effort. He has yet to sweat in this game. He's just kind of circling the outside, getting nice little medium-range jump shooters. And when his touch is going, which is what not only all the other talents, but his great shooting touch.
Yeah, we're talking about the rhythm and the fact that he doesn't have any sweat. Look at this. Nobody near him.
No.
He's going to drain that almost all the time.
Moving to his left, by the way.
Glen Rice has hit his last 2 perimeter shot. Michael Jordan, by the way, tonight, 4 out of 5 on threes, and already has 30. He's leading the NBA in scoring at 28.1, but only 1/10 of a point ahead of Elijah Warren. And I guess maybe he's trying to widen the gap. Rodman with another rebound. Pippen, Jordan, 32 points. Rodman, 14 boards. We may be looking at another 50 here tonight, or more.
Well, he's going to be very close, you know, unless he leaves the game and doesn't return at this point with a 22-point lead. Great pass by Pippen. Penetration, sees where Jordan is, and Jordan takes it right to the rim.
Well, here's the deal. Our deal, yours and my deal with him before the game, is the sneakers, the cologne, the movie, all of that marketing stops if he sits down. He's not going to the bench.
No, he may be forced there by Mr. Jackson if this continues.
We'll have to call our lawyers. 65-42, the Bulls, 8:44 to go, and Anthony Mason, we're talking about somebody with a little bit of fire. Anthony Mason draws the technical. He's, you know, very frustrated with the way this team is playing. After he came from New York, and as Pat Riley, who coached him up in New York, and his other coaches will tell you, he is an emotional player, and he's going to have some technicals and some emotional outbursts during the season.
Well, that's important to his game. That's what makes Anthony Mason what he is. Very combative guy. Has some real talent. He's a little undersized sometimes for the kind of game he likes to play. He's one of those players, I think, though, that if he played as a sixth man, he'd probably get as many stats as he would playing 42 minutes, quite frankly.
Here's a tough play against Dennis Rodman.
There's the size problem. You get a shot at blocking his shot, and makes it difficult for him to score around the basket because of the size factor.
Bulls by 24. Punched away by Del Curry with 10 on the shot clock. You know, we've said it so much, he's not underrated now. We talk about Dennis Rodman's rebounding, but one-on-one defense, great foot movement, quick hands, strength.
And he's not what he used to be because he doesn't really have to do it anymore. Ooh, beautiful play. Slip the screen, break down defensively, beautiful to watch if you're from Chicago. Poor defensive habit by Charlotte. Charlotte has got some new people, new coach. They've got a long way to go to come together defensively.
On the long miss, the Bulls are out. Lob to Michael, missed by Pippen. That would have been a highlight shot. Scottie. Michael. Phil.
There's Rodman getting the outlet pass. Pippen thinks he has it, lobs it up there, but one of the few mistakes we've seen tonight.
The NBA on TNT is brought to you by...
Here's Chicago starting their triangle offense. Pass to the corner to Michael. Cut through. Bang. Here comes the pick. This will start it. They don't get what they want. Jordan comes off the pick. There's the roll down. He swings it side court. They'll go in. They get into their triangle offense. They've got it in the post. There's the two cuts. And Michael comes to the top. 8 seconds on the clock. Makes a very tough shot. That'll make your offense really work.
That was when Cotton Fitzsimmons, who just resigned the other day, if you haven't heard yet, and Danny Ainge has taken over Phoenix, that's what Cotton would draw up for their triangle. The problem is he didn't have that in the face of two defenders shot bailing him out.
No, that is a huge difference in the offense.
Rebounds, how about this for a stat? Rodman has 15. Charlotte as a team
has 14.
Mercy. Malik Rose is in. He is the rookie from Drexel. Wears number 31. First action in the game tonight. He's a clone of Anthony Mason size-wise, 6'7", 250. And it was from Overbrook High School in Philadelphia. Another famous player went to Overbrook High School.
Yes.
As we take a look at the Chevy scoreboard, I know you know, Chuck. Don't give it away.
All right, I won't give it away.
Atlanta's making a comeback on Miami after Miami got way out in front of the injury-depleted Atlanta Hawks. Portland in front of New Jersey by 1 on the Chevy scoreboard. Remember to catch all the scores and highlights on CNN Sports tonight at 11 with Vince Cellini.
There was a case, great individual defense. Jordan on Rice. Rice slightly bigger, all but blocks the shot, then gets the rebound, and then Rice comes over his back for the foul.
Better add Nancy Newman to the CNN Sports tonight. 68-42 here, Bulls out in front. Back to we're already into our trivia. Last week we were into historical perspective in the Chicago-Detroit blowout. Overbrook High School, Philadelphia. Malik Rose went there before he went to Drexel. Another famous player. You tell him, Jeff.
Mr. Chamberlain.
Will Chamberlain.
100-point Chamberlain in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
With 118 50-plus point games. I couldn't get over that stat as Tony Smith misses. Scottie Pippen comes away with a loose ball. Oh, Dennis Rodman split the two players. It was either Harper or Kerr. Neither one of them was near the ball, and Chicago would have carried this turnover.
But see, Phil Jackson, he's up by 26. He's unhappy with that play. That's why he's a great coach. You never let anything go. Rodman, in that case, had the ball, had 2 or 3 opportunities, and made a bad play.
And they're an easy basket for Charlotte, too, but Charlotte's still down 24. Bulls with Jordan, Kerr, Rodman, Pippen, and Harper on the floor. That's a deadly small lineup. You want to go big, we go big. You want to go small, we go small. Well, name your poison.
That's what they call having all bases covered in baseball or in basketball.
There's the fadeaway from Mason. He's hit a couple of hoops there. I was guessing Dennis might come away with that rebound. Lead pass to Kerr, who keeps it in bounds nicely. Harper doesn't get the 3. Rebound 70-44. The Hornets, with 5:57 to go in the third quarter, have been able to come up only with 44 points. And Rodman has 17 rebounds. That's his average.
And Dennis, on 3 occasions, the last 3 has he did throw one away, almost threw the other 2 away, which is a little unlike him.
Bulls have 10 seconds. We've got a hold down there underneath the hoop. Coming up next week on Tuesday on TNT. New York at Orlando at 8 o'clock. That's TNT. Wednesday, a doubleheader. New York comes here to Charlotte. And then Chicago goes to Phoenix. And unless things change, unless I miss my guess, it could be the battle of 2 streaks. Phoenix defeated streak and Chicago's undefeated streak. As we look at Dave Cowens, if you're coaching, not to criticize Dave Cowens, because I don't think there's any to criticize at this point, what would you do if you're looking at this kind of game with your team? What would you do to try to get something started?
Well, you have to have some more things in your arsenal offensively. You've got to have some movement to try to get shots. And I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't do. I would not set down my starters this much early in the game. If I'm going to suffer through it, let them go ahead and play through it themselves. There's no sense of going to your bench. Let them learn. Let them hurt a little bit with the whole thing, because you're getting nothing out of it anyway.
72-44 Bulls. 5:29 to go. Third period of play. Curry trying to post up Anthony Mason. Look how far out Rodman pushed him.
And look how long he takes to get in there. He's going to give everybody on the defense a shot at getting to this ball. There's Pippen, got a shot at it.
Mason misses. Yeah. They're calling it jump ball.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be over the back, but there's a perfect example of what Mason does. He pounds it. Here we get it into him. Curry gets it in. Now he's going to pound it. Work. Look at the seconds ticking off. And then Pippen is always going to release and come to the guy on the post-up, and makes it very difficult for a guy of his size to, in fact, score that deep.
Mason was 3 out of 3 in the first quarter to get started the game. Since then, he's only been 3 out of 10. Steve Kerr, deadliest three-point shooter active in the NBA, is not so deadly this year. He missed that one, and Kerr coming into the game was only 11 of 29 on threes. And for him, that's not good.
Well, he's a career 48% shooter, 37% this year. That's unusual, but I sense that, you know, they've had so many blowouts, and there's been so many games he's had probably irregular minutes, but he is obviously one of the great three-point shooters in the game.
And now we talked about Tony Delk, the #1 draft pick, 16th overall. Out of Kentucky, getting some of his rare playing time. He didn't play due to coach's decision in the last 3 games.
Well, here you're seeing Dave Cowan saying, well, my starters have nothing left tonight. We're already down a bunch, 20 plus, and I'm going to go see what some of these guys have. I'm not sure that this early in the game I would want to do that. I would like to, hang in with your starters. Then people start writing. They say, well, you don't want to be competitive. You gave up too early. And those are things you have to be careful of when you come back into the coaching business. I'd keep my starters out there and let them work it out themselves. A lot of games to play this year.
Tony Delk, as I say, out of Kentucky, of course, played on the national championship team, was one of the stars of that team with the assist, or would have been an assist to Curry, who's having a bad night. Everybody seems to be. But then teams seem to have bad nights when they play the Bulls. That's going to be Charlotte ball. Tony Delk came in and played 15 minutes against the Knicks the other night and scored 14 points. He can score, but as you were saying, as Dave Cowens was telling us, he's a little bit of an in-betweener, not knowing exactly what to do with him on this team.
Yeah, Delk, as you know, was the MVP in the NCAA tournament, and there's almost a turnover. But he's a scorer, and he's going to have to learn aspects of handling the ball if he's going to be a 1. And this business of trying to turn 2s and scorers into 1 is a very, very difficult job. At best, he'll be a backup 1.
Kerr handling the ball, being defended by Tony Delk. Pick from Rodman. 10 on the shot clock. Rodman sets up in the post. Pippen to Jordan. Bailout.
Well, your triangle offense, it doesn't look great.
36. Jordan, we're on the 50-point countdown now. 14 away.
He will never make it because I don't think he'll play the minutes tonight, the way it's going, unless there's a huge run, and I don't see it coming.
Pippen with the easy lay-in. Michael was on the other side, and what are you going to do? There's a 2-on-3 break, and the Hornets are going to get a timeout, and they are being embarrassed by 32 with 3:51 to go in the third period of play. The Hornets have scored only 44 points. Scottie Pippen, Bulls up by 32. As you see, Rice could have only fouled him, and Michael Jordan was lurking in the shadows on the weak side. And one of the reasons Charlotte's struggling from the point guard spot is Muggsy Bogues still unable to play. Craig?
Well, Bob, he is an original Hornet. He leads the NBA all-time in assist-to-turnover ratio. Muggsy Bogues, what's the latest on your knee injury?
Well, it's getting better as the days go by, and it's just getting stronger. I think I just I'm trying to give it a couple of days of practice Monday and Tuesday and actually see where I am. And, when you got bone on bone rubbing against each other, it's not a good feeling. But I have been doing better, getting some acupuncture treatment, and so we're going to try to see what happens on come Wednesday.
Well, good to see you. Hope to have you in uniform, obviously, Wednesday in TBS. Bob.
Rice hits the triple and draws the foul with 3:41 to go in the third period. Robert Parish, wearing his double zeros, in for the Bulls, and George Zidek is in at center for the Charlotte Hornets, lined up beside him there on the free throw line. Robert Parish, who has played through 5 presidents: Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, just missed Nixon if he hadn't resigned. How about this? Was a teammate of Rick Barry, has played against 2 of Rick's sons, John and Brent. I could go on, but I won't, unless you ask me to. 76-48. Chicago. Kukoc. Oh, rainbow. Kukoc hits the threes when nobody's in his face, and he sets the shot.
Yeah, he really sets it. And he hasn't been a great three-point shooter this year. Better than what his statistics are this particular year. And very dangerous late in the game with a three.
That foul is on Robert Parish. Bulls are 50% on threes tonight. As you see, 7 of 14. Charlotte only 4 of 15. Pippen, by the way, playing with 4 fouls, as if any of those statistics matter. My old buddy Red Auerbach always said, no matter when I was working with him, Chuck, thanks for not doing this to me, by the way. Every time I'd come up with some kind of statistical story, Red would go, meaningless. Doesn't mean a thing. Show me the score at the end. Red. Miss him. I hope he's doing all right. Haven't seen him in a while. I understand he's in great health. Going to a lot of ball games. He's out on the West Coast talking to some people about movies. Who knows what that's about? Next, we'll see Red Auerbach with Donald Duck.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I'm doubting that.
Phil's sitting over. He's still got Pippen, Jordan, Kukoc on the floor. He's probably saying, when do I, go the other route and get these people out of the game? But I don't think he wants to take a chance this early in the game with 14 minutes to go.
79-50. Never trust happiness. That's a quotation I always credit to you. And that says it all in Phil Jackson's face. Happiness? Don't buy it.
Not with coaches. Robert Duvall said it in a movie, I believe, what, Tender Mercies?
Yeah.
But it's kind of something the coach has to live by. And now we have Del Curry playing Michael Jordan on a post-up, and he is going to rise up and shoot over him almost every single time.
Michael has hit his last 9. He has 38 in this game with 2.5 minutes to go in the period. Steve Kerr with the rebound. 31-point Bulls lead. Kukoc. Rainbow, that's a 2. When Kukoc is feeling it in his head, doesn't have anybody in his face again on the perimeter, a beautiful shot. Toni 4 out of 5. He scored 10 off the bench. 6th man of the year last year in the NBA. Kerr.
When you have one of these games, you're sitting over as Dave Collins. The problem is you're going, what do we do tomorrow? We just came off back-to-back, one on the road. What do we do tomorrow, and what do I talk about in terms of getting this team back?
Well, good news, if you can find any here, if you look at Michael Jordan and his spectacular night again, is the Hornets will be off until Wednesday when they host New York. Then next Thursday we'll go to Indiana, then come back home for 2 versus Detroit and Seattle. All of those teams are good. New York, Indiana, Detroit playing great. Seattle. Then Wednesday they go to Toronto, and then 7 of the next 10 games for the Hornets on the road. So, I'm telling you, they got a struggle ahead.
Well, Bob Bass, when he got the schedule earlier in the year, he went off and was very unhappy. He's talked a great deal about it, the fact that he feels like if they can stay around 500 till the middle of January, even early January, then they might have a chance to have a decent season. But their schedule is brutal, as we just read. They're facing teams that are very, very difficult to beat.
Toni Kukoc stepped in on the bad pass, gets the steal. And the lay-in. We're getting everybody off the bench there. Randy Brown steps into the game. Delt gets a basket. We're going to see everybody in this game.
Yeah, I think we've seen the last of Michael Ford this evening, and very shortly we'll probably see the last of Pippen.
Brown was wearing 0, you may remember. Now he's wearing number 1. The Chief had it blocked by Zidek, struggling here tonight. And that's Robert Parish at his age of 43. He's going to have some games where he's just too stiff. Randy Brown almost threw that one away. 87-52 Bulls. 7 field goal differential in this quarter.
And how about that spin move? Was that pretty?
89-52. Somebody was talking about, no matter how successful the NBA is, and it is this year, celebrating their 50th anniversary, people are always saying, what's wrong, what's wrong? I have an answer. One thing's wrong is the Bulls. If you're the opponent, that's what's wrong.
You can understand advertising. You understand television execs say, we want Chicago because they have Michael Jordan, and that's an attraction. But when the game turns out not to be an attraction, and that happens pretty frequently, then you've got a whole other problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
They're too good. We're going to ban them.
Break up the Bulls.
Michael on the sideline. 89-54 with 17.4 seconds to go in the period. getting some various ice packs on both knees. That's nothing wrong with Michael. They're just packing him down. And that may indicate we won't see much of him in this final fourth quarter as he sits down with 38 points in this game.
You know, what you see there with that ice is a pretty standard procedure, even for people who aren't in athletics, golfers, weekend warriors athletically. But sports stars, even guys that don't have serious problems, do a lot of icing down of crucial areas, and I think it's important. Knees, it keeps them playing the sport a lot longer. It keeps the tendonitis and the inflammations away from the knees, elbows, and other parts of the body.
A secret to my long and storied career is ice on my throat every night. 34-19, Chicago in the third, 12 minutes to go. Red Auerbach trade, 14 years with Boston.
Yeah, they ended up getting, Dick Vitale wanted Bob McAdoo desperately. Joe Barry Carroll was involved in the trade, but they end up with Parish and McHale, and it put the Celtics in position to win a lot of championships and give a lot of people like myself heartache.
And now what a great place to finish his career here. He won 2 rings with Boston Celtics and a chance here, which could be his last year. He's such a physical fitness freak. He could probably play as long as somebody will keep him on the team.
Yeah, that plus the fact that there are no centers. I mean, there's such a lack of centers. And there he is. That little fake shot, and he delivers on cue.
That's why we like him. Television player. 91-55 Chicago. 11:33 to go. The final line on Michael, unless he shocks us and comes back in the game, which I don't think. Tony Smith hits that one. 29 minutes. Made his last 9 field goals to go 15 of 25 as Kukoc hits it. Michael was 4 out of 5 from beyond the arc. A sweet 38, which will extend his NBA league-leading scoring over Akeem Olajuwon. It was only 1/10 of a point, 28-1 to 28 coming into the game. There's the Yuri Zidek sweeping hook shot. Zidek started at center last year for Alan Bristow for a while.
Yeah, that was kind of interesting because, but they had Larry Robinson. I don't know what the thinking was. You know, it's interesting that his father is probably the best basketball player to ever come out of his particular country.
Yeah, then Yugoslavia.
Yes.
His name was Yuri, just as his George Zidek now, as he would prefer to be called, who plays college ball. His given name is Yuri. And is tentative. He's a pretty talented basketball player, according to the coaches I talked to and what we've seen of him, but is still tentative and not getting much playing time now with Vlade Divac and Matt Geiger on this team.
I thought last year he showed signs of really coming around and being a pretty good player, but when you don't get playing time and confidence factor.
Zidek, let's see his jump shot. Well, more of a set shot.
Yes.
Nevertheless, 93-59, 34-point lead by Chicago with 10:20 to go in the ball game. The Bulls are about to go to 9-0 on the season. Right now they've got Parish and Kerr and Caffey and Kukoc and Randy Brown on the floor.
This will give Phil a chance to look at this group running the offense, and I think you'll see it doesn't run quite as smoothly.
Delk into Zidek.
Got to take Parish to school.
Look at Kerr. Steals the ball. He wanted to get the call there. Here's our McDonald's game reset. Well, how about Michael Jordan comes in, lights it up. Rodman rebounds everybody, and the Bulls blow him out early. Is that pretty clear?
That's pretty clear. It was a no-brainer tonight. Very easy game. Hardly broke a sweat.
Michael had 14 in the first period on his way to 38. Probably won't be, or sure won't be back in this game here tonight. Coach. And the foul on Scott Burrell. Speaking of road trips, Chicago goes home. They play Atlanta tomorrow night, and the Hawks are depleted. They signed a couple of young players because Steve Smith's injured. Mookie Blaylock's hurt. They put Priest Lauderdale. I'm talking about the Hawks. So that game would be heavily favored to Chicago. Then at Phoenix, at Denver, at Utah, and at LA. The one I see there is that could be a stopper, could be Utah.
Yeah, Utah will be very ready for him. Both teams will be off. Should be an interesting game. They'll play him tough. Other than that, the other clubs are going to have to play an unusual game. But we know the Bulls are going to get beat sooner or later.
Well, since Michael has violated his agreement with Chuck and I to stay in the whole game no matter what, we're going to go away and give you some bonus coverage here with the Bulls leading it by 37 points. Let's go to Ernie Jones.
The second half, after lighting up the Hawks for 6 threes and 21 points in the first half. Miami from midcourt. And Hardaway quickly to Mourning. Dikembe influenced the shot, and air ball. Hawks rebound, and Marley fouls Barrett that three, but he had a great look at it and nailed it.
He certainly did. Lined it up, knocked it down. John Barry, a good free throw shooter, was able to come to the basketball and get fouled.
And up by 4 with 20 seconds left. Looks like they'll hold on for that upset, come from behind win over Miami, but we'll keep you posted in case something happens. Back here, Tony Delk has been putting on a show. Didn't get it to fall that time. It'll be Chicago's ball, but in just about 5 minutes of playing time, 6 minutes, Tony Delk has 11 points off the bench for Charlotte, but Chicago having their way with the Hornets, 98-72, 4:35 remaining in the game.
Yeah, it's turned into one of those garbage games so early, and we were concerned about this, particularly with Charlotte coming off a road game last evening.
And it's been that way. And as you pointed out, Dave Cowens didn't even have a chance to, because they came in here after playing in Orlando last night. The Bulls on the road had more rest than the home team, and that works out that way in the NBA. And as you said a minute ago, in Chicago, with the kind of offense they run, if you don't have a chance to at least walk through it, you got all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, when I was coaching, we went to running it, not so much to use it, but at least we knew they were the club we'd probably have to beat if we were going to get out of the East. And so we try to become familiar with it by running it, which gives you a little advance when you play against it. It doesn't always help you, but it gives you a little idea.
Bill Jackson, see Jimmy Rogers there to his left. Bill Cartwright's an assistant on this team, not with the team tonight. He's probably scouting. Frank Hamlin has joined the team as a coach. Johnny Bach, you look at Jason Caffey. Nice slam, Jason. Makes it 102-74. Johnny Bach left the Bulls and went to work for his former boss and his old buddy Doug Collins in Detroit.
Yeah, Johnny Bach, one of the all-time great coaches. Fordham, Penn State. He's become one of those lifers on the bench. We have a number of those guys in the league who are doing a really good job. Scotty Robertson, Tex Winter, Dick Harder.
Bill Burtka,
Dick Harder. I think he'd still like to be a head coach, and is a great coach.
102-74, Chicago. 3 minutes to play. Scotty Burrell with the lay-in. So Michael Jordan has set out this entire fourth quarter. Scottie Pippen most of it. Dennis Rodman most of it. And Dennis got his average on rebounds in only 3 quarters anyway. His average is 17, and Dennis got his 17. Michael's averaging 28 a game. Scott Burrell with the 3. That's something he did 2 years ago before he got hurt. But Michael ended up with 38 here to build on his league-leading scoring average. Rodman, 17 rebounds in 28 minutes.
Well, Charles Barkley has thrown down the gauntlet and said, I will lead the league in rebounding. That may happen if he continues only to get 28 minutes, but we want to see how bionic is after 64 games. Charles does not have that kind of aerobic conditioning.
All right, we have 2 minutes and 14 seconds left. You must wait till the end of this game if you want an official NBA fan t-shirt. Stay with us.
The Bulls are up by 25 late in the fourth quarter. Dave Cowens is the only person in the Charlotte organization with a world championship ring. He got 2 in his days in Boston. Meanwhile, everyone on the floor and on the bench for Chicago has a ring except assistant coach Frank Hamlin. 26 years an assistant, but only 1 here in Chicago. However, Michael Jordan says he's on a mission, and he wants to give Frank a ring this year.
Craig, you see Bulls have 23 rings and Hornets, none at Zidek except Cowens with 2 with Boston. You should have interviewed Harper standing right behind you there. I guess Craig didn't know that.
He was getting the horns.
Look at that. Atlanta comes from behind and beats Miami in Atlanta. And Atlanta started Eldridge Rakasner at the point tonight. They had to go with John Barry, who's a bench player, and Willie Burton because of Steve Smith and Mookie Blaylock, and that's a big win for Lenny Wilkens, too.
Well, one of the problems Miami has on some nights is going to be scoring. When they don't get kicked in with Hardaway, in particular, and Morty, then they're going to have a hard time scoring enough points.
Minute 57 to go in this one. This looks like we were trying to think the last time we saw a game with this big a blowout, you and I immediately went back to a game here last year that I did with Chicago and Charlotte. It was 126-97.
I think that's a game that the Bulls started off and led by 21-0. So some things never change.
Yeah, you see some of the players kind of chuckling over on the bench there for Charlotte. Maybe because it hurts too much to cry. That's why they're laughing. Vlade Divac was absent tonight. 1 point, 3 rebounds in 19 minutes. He only played 19 and was very unproductive.
He has a history of a little bit of that at times. And I think Jerry, he did a good job, but night in and night out, I don't know if you get the passionate play and the statistics that you need.
You know, you called it right at the beginning, Chuck. As we saw in Detroit, and as the coaches know, as Doug knows, as Dave Cowan's learning here tonight, I know, is the teams that come in, the Bulls come in as smiling assassins. How are you doing? Good to see you. You know, well, and then they cut your heart out.
Yeah, it's going to take a team like a Seattle, a Houston, the Lakers, with some real passion, some dislike, want to get really physical, get next to these people. You can't let them do what they want to do all night. They're just too good. They have too many good players at too many good positions.
There's Ron Harper, who shared the stage with Craig Sager. Can we find? Can a TV network find a player for interfering with our sideline reporter? Delk, 13 points, has 11 in the fourth quarter. You should take a look at that. Jason Caffey, who was injured early in the year, is getting some playing time. And Caffey, I think, is going to prove to be a good player in the NBA. I'm talking about a guy who plays a long time and will be productive because he's got that big physical body.
I think Jerry Krause feels the same way. The problem is him getting minutes. I don't know where he gets the minutes. You know, your key players have got to get them, and it becomes difficult.
Well, Chicago was winning games by what, 18 points a game? Their differential was 18?
18 is the differential.
Amazing. So when you win by have that kind of point differential, then you do get some time for some players like Jason Caffey. That's the rich getting richer.
But you're right. He's got a lot of skills, a lot of talent, good body, good athlete.
Randy Brown and Buechler closing it out for Chicago into Caffey. 12 seconds to go. Mercifully, this will be over shortly. You and I spoke about how quickly the first quarter went.
The first half.
Oh, did we speak too soon? Count that basket from Tony Smith. 110-87. This is going to screw up the Bulls' 84.9 points per game that they're allowing. And now it'll be like over 85, so that'll upset everybody. Michael Jordan, 14 in the first quarter, had his way tonight with everybody, 38. He was 4 out of 5 from three-point land. And, of course, he was assisted, as he's been by so many times, by Dennis Rodman, who will be with us when we return in just a moment. Rodman, who's broke into the NBA as a rookie with Chuck Daly's Detroit Pistons, has joined us here. Dennis, I told you we're trying to find challenges for you. One is, by the way, nice look. Did you get a shot of this? You know, that doesn't look as good as the veil on the wedding.
Okay.
But it's good. 28 minutes, only 17 rebounds. We're trying to get you to a rebound a minute. Could you take that as a challenge?
Oh, I probably could. Tonight I probably could have had like 25 or 30 tonight if I would have played a lot.
At one point, the third quarter, you had out-rebounded entire Charlotte. You had 15, they had only 14. How good is this team? You all look not only as good as last year, but even more relaxed and comfortable.
I think we're just having a lot of fun this year. I mean, everyone is very relaxed. Everyone is comfortable in their roles. And I just think that the league has really filtered out and kind of diluted itself, where a lot of young players in the league don't know the game as much as guys as me, Michael, and Scottie. And I just think that it's kind of hurting the league right now that we're playing somewhat subpar, and most teams are not playing as well as they should.
You know, Charles Barkley threw down the gauntlet. We talked about earlier in the broadcast and said, well, I'm just going to be a rebounder, and I'm going to out-rebound Mr. Rodman this year. Your response? I heard one response.
Charles is Charles. I heard Charles call me a nitwit one day, the other day. That's great, Charles. That's fine. Way to go, baby. As long as we win the ring, I think that's the most important thing. I get paid to do certain things on the basketball floor, and that's my job. And hopefully that he has a good year this year.
You know, I feel this year that you're not quite as demonstrative as you have been in past. You seem to be much calmer about your role and your play and what you're doing. Am I right or wrong?
Well, I just think that I'm more comfortable.
You haven't matured now, right?
You haven't matured now.
No, not yet.
No, I just think that I'm very relaxed now. I'm comfortable with this environment that I'm in. Michael, Scottie, Phil Jackson. You know, with you, it was the same thing when I was with Detroit, but I think the scenario is coming back to me now.
That's great. We can tell it. Your play has been just superb. The basketball team is simply a machine, and I just wanted to point out here so you remember, I'm looking at the Bulls next Wednesday at Phoenix. Charles, here comes Dennis.
Phoenix.
We'll take a look at that game. Dennis Rodman, 17 boards tonight, 6 points. Bulls blowout win over the Charlotte Hornets. Thanks, Dennis.